Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode, another podcast on inspiring educators. In this podcast, we meet another inspirational educator, somebody who has spent almost a lifetime in making education better, not just for India, but for around the world. The experiences that she has had, oh my God, I was looking at the profile and I just kept getting inspired looking at the profile, and I've been waiting to meet her for almost over a week now. So I welcome Dr. Anuradha Monga to this episode of Inspiring Educators. Ma'am, first of all, I request you to please introduce yourself, just a basic introduction. And before she introduces, let me tell you, she's also the chairperson of TISI, which is the Association of International Schools in India. And while it started as an association of just international schools like your IB and IGCSE and Cambridge schools, but now it's growing. A lot of schools from across the country who really want to make a difference in their schools are joining the association because they know that this association really means business and really means improving education for the entire country. So, ma'am, without further ado, I invite you to please introduce yourself.
First of all, thank you very much. You overdid it, but that's fine. Yes, I've been in education for a very, very long time. I've had in many schools, some boards, and now I am only working on the Association of International Schools India and more. That was my basic idea when about 16 years ago, I was flying from Perth. And that time, not many teachers were going overseas. And I saw the IB workshop, there were hardly any Indians. So I had to wait a lot in Singapore. And I said, why don't we start something like this? So we started with like 6 schools, and now we have 250 schools. So it's really my journey has been very, very interesting where education is concerned. And I want to do more. I want to get more challenged. So let's see where that takes me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So what's your story? Who is Dr. Anuradha, right? How did you start? What really led you to education? Was it something that you always wanted to do, or was it something that happened by chance? And then how did the story really go ahead? So listeners would love to know.
So I go really back. When I was 8 years old, I was in a classroom. I'm a left-hander, by the way. And teachers at that time had no knowledge how the brain works. She would tie my hand up and say, no, you write with this hand. And she made me cry so many times in class. And as I was just about 12 years old, I said, now I have to learn and get into education and remove all this, because this whole, thinking that it's bad omen if you write with your right or left. Even if you know, see, and as you go to the temples, they always ask you to give your right hand first. So I was still a teenager when I started working on curriculum and how to help kids. And my basic thing was every child listens to a different drummer. Yeah, and I really worked on it. And my first little job while I was studying, I had done my master's in cognitive philosophy, and you also work on those lines. And also I did a lot on child psychology. While doing this, I had started working with kids, whether they were international school kids, whether they were underprivileged schools, to understand what we really want to do in education. So the first term I changed from teachers to facilitators.
Beautiful.
So facilitators are who are helping the kids to learn, but to learn by themselves. So I was bent on it, and then I did a special course on, learning need kids, and which was my heart, and I really led the school with my heart. And these kids have done wonderful because they were accepted everywhere. And always I told people, remember that we all have needs. They have different needs and we have different needs. And some of this, I know one of my kids who was very challenged, she is actually now playing the harmonica in the Philharmonic Orchestra. And other kids have done very well. So I believe in inclusivity. And there was a time when when twins came, and the mother said every school has rejected them. Unfortunately, they were transgender. But I said, no, they will stay here and I will work with them. And today they've done very well in life. So that's why my story of education started.
So if I hear it right, it's been driven by passion, driven by that need of creating an impact throughout your life, throughout the journey, right? And it's like making a difference every single day to at least one person's life, whom whether others have accepted or rejected, but you accept them and then you make them live their life beautiful. Wonderful. So beautiful. And you mentioned about facilitator and not just somebody who goes and preaches, right? When was this, when you coined and when you actually introduced that term to your school, facilitator?
This was actually when I started Bangalore International. I didn't start it, it was just a school with 50 kids. But when I came, it was about 19 years ago. And I saw this. And I said, no. In fact, when I used to interview the teachers, I don't want to badmouth anything, but I felt the teachers who did the teacher training courses from various places, I had to unwind them because that was just a talk and job and nobody understood the kid. One had to understand the needs of the kid and not just, come and work on it. So then we had an issue with salaries and so then I said, yes, in this school, most of the schools are higher class teachers get more. So I took my chemistry teacher from the 11th grade and put her in the first grade. I said, can you teach these kids? So from there, I started the same kind of salaries. And in my school, there was no expat salary and Indian salary because it is happening. I'm not saying it's not happening, but it really hurts my Indian teachers who are so qualified, but they don't get the salary the expats get. Yeah. Right. But we want that in the country. So what can we do?
So, just to share with you, we're going, a bit off the topic here, but just to share with you, that's what Suraasa is trying to build. What we are saying is Indian teachers are really very talented, but they're not able to get their due share of appreciation as well as, the opportunities, not just in India, but even abroad sometimes.
Yeah. So as I would love to help you on that, really, because I'm a strong person.
So we'll work on that for sure. Yeah. And you mentioned that you've been working with so many teachers, and I'm sure over the last, you said 15, 20 years now with Bangalore International School itself, right? And then before that, many experiences. You must have come across, if not tens of thousands, at least thousands of teachers.
Yes, I have.
Right? And then you would have nurtured them and brought them around and brought them about. So with all this experience of working with teachers, if you had to, in very simplistic way, define who, according to you, is a successful teacher, how would you define that?
I would define it a teacher who understands the child, understands its learning and also work with the heart with the child, and you will see how the child will come towards you. But you have to have patience. You can't give up and forget about the backbenchers. That will not work.
Right. Basically, somebody who really knows how to connect with what the other person, what the child is really feeling inside, not just what he's showing outside, not just not just the symptoms, but identifying the real causes and then resolve those causes, right?
That's true.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Another very important thing which comes from here is, United Nations has been talking about this. World Bank has been talking about this. Various educational platforms have been talking about this, that the world requires many more teachers than there are right now. In fact, if I talk numbers, there are around 69 to 70 million teachers in the world right now. And as per United Nations, in the next 5 to 7 years, we require another 70 million teachers to keep up the educational quality and to meet the demand of the rising populations.
Yes.
Now, we know that the youth is not getting attracted towards teaching at all. And we also know that teachers are quitting the careers. So if we had to really send a message across to the next generations that teaching is actually not that easy that you think, and is actually not again the work of the gods, this is what we've been doing. Either Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, or teachers are not doing anything. there is no middle
Yeah.
path, which is like a practical thing, right? So if you had to give a message to these next generations that come join teaching because it is attractive, how would you put that message across? And I would really love to take that message and actually even play at many places this is what Dr. Anuradha Monga is saying.
Yeah, see, now I could have done many things, but I was very attracted to teaching. And when I saw how we worked on a child and what he is today is because of his teachers. That is very important, and that feeling gives you a very good feeling. I know some teachers now during COVID wanted to give up. Giving up is not going to make anything, and you may go to a corporate, but next minute you may be asked to leave. That's very corporate. Yeah. So the teachers, of course, now because of all this technology coming in, they have to be up to the mark with technology. Yeah. So what I see in the future is hybrid schooling, if that goes. But of course, socializing is a very important part in teaching, and the love they get from their kids, they won't get it anyway. They may get a little lesser salary, but it will be the way the teachers will work towards the children, because these are the kids who are our future citizens. You can be in any corporate, you can be a doctor, but the kind of satisfaction you get as a teacher, that's my personal feeling. But of course, the school boards also have to understand that, I know how helpless some teachers were when the COVID fell, because they had no feeling for the teachers or in fact even for the support staff. Right. And that's a very mainstream, I think. Sorry to say that.
I understand. I've seen teachers struggling, we work in multiple countries with schools and teachers. And I've seen teachers literally struggling with even justifying what they're doing when they don't have to justify to anyone, right? A parent not knowing what education is trying to comment on what they are doing without understanding that needs to be done, right? Sometimes somebody completely an outsider has no idea what education systems are, is coming and preaching to the teachers what they need to do. So I feel you, ma'am. I understand what you're saying, and believe me, would really love to do something with you again on this area as well, that the world should know what teaching is all about. It's not a profession that anybody can take. In this part of the conversation, you mentioned that many people have quit. Has it ever happened that Dr. Anuradha Monga wanted to quit education? Has it ever happened? Did you ever feel about that?
I went through ups and downs, and sometimes you have boards which drive you crazy. Yeah. But I knew I was there for the children. And even today, when the children have graduated, they are all in touch with me. When they come back, if they're overseas, they meet me. And I know the kind of love we gave and the learning our school gave them, they will never forget.
Yeah. So once somebody's passionate, ups and downs will never stop them, right? It will just make us stronger. And I think that's why that sentence, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, basically fits on the people who are passionate. Otherwise, just quit, right?
You're right. Yeah.
Superb. Now, the last part of the podcast, because this is specifically focused on the Women's Day part. Any particular women in education, your colleagues, your peers, some mentors, people who really motivated you to become who you are. If you could name them, people who are maybe working with you right now, who worked with you in the past, and who really kind of guided, not really guiding as in mentoring guidance, but also guided the pathway that you were building for the world. If you'd like to thank them, name them, thank them, send them a message across this Women's Day, you can just name them and thank and send and record the message now. We'll play that as a part of the podcast, and we'll also take that snippet out and send it to them directly, saying Dr. Anuradha Monga wants to share this with you this Women's Day.
So, the thing is that because I worked in the school for 17, 18 years, I always worked as a team leader. So I learned a lot from my team. There were a lot of teachers. I could mention so many, but I don't want to leave anybody behind. So I have learned a lot from my teachers. I never worked separately. We worked as a team. And many things a teacher would stand up and say, Miss, please don't do this. This will cause chaos. And I would take it back. I won't react and understand why the teacher is saying. So I have a lot of faith in all my women teachers. And of course, there's one mentor I had. She's 86 now. She's Ellen Stern. And she's still working.
Wow. Wow.
I hope I live to that day. So, but my teachers, I would say my BS teachers gave me a lot of strength.
So why don't you record a message for all the teachers of BIS? We'll send it
to them. Yes,
this
is a message for all the Bangalore International teachers. Without you, the school would not have functioned. We worked as a team, and I want to thank each one of you what we did together and how we proceeded further. We learned a lot from you, and there was a lot of learning to and fro. So thank you very much.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, ma'am. So thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. Any special message you'd like to give to the present teachers, future teachers, anything that you would like to say to them?
I feel that one thing I would like even to say to the heads of schools, when a new head comes, the previous head might have negativities about certain people, but they should start fresh. And so should all the teachers start with a fresh mind. Don't listen what happened. Just try to be comfortable and learn to love your peers. And also don't try changing things immediately. Things will work its way. And of course, you have to change. But if you don't change, you become the casualty of that change. So, that's what it is.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all the listeners for spending your time, for learning with us today. Again, a wonderful, inspiring session. I sign off for the day. Thank you so much. See you next time with the next episode.